You know, there are times when I absolutely agree with what people say. And Jacob Rees-Mogg has just written a piece for the Spectator, which is so bang on the nail, I want to scream out how brilliant it is. He recognises, quite rightly, that the courts were making a ruling about whether or not the decision, the decision of Sajid Javid, was legitimate. And they ruled that it was, that he had the right to make the decision that Shamina Begum should not be allowed back in the country, should not be granted her citizenship. But then he goes on and quite rightly says that she shouldn't have had it denied in the first place because she was a victim. She was groomed, trafficked, and raped, he says. There are serious considerations, and in all normal circumstances, a 15-year-old treated in such a barbarous way would not be held culpable for her actions. And I think absolutely he is right. To deprive Begum of her citizenship is wrong because it attacks two linchpins of the Constitution that safeguard us all. It's easy to defend constitutional principles in favour of good people, but it's more difficult to do so when it's acknowledged that someone has been involved with evil actions and organisations. Begum, by her association with and strong support for ISIS, falls into the second category, but the Constitution ought not to be abandoned when it's inconvenient, because a fair process routinely benefits us all. Now, I would go on much further, and I would say that she should not be rendered stateless, and I think that that is fundamentally the issue which I think underpins the legal question. Could the Home Secretary have rendered her stateless legitimately? So he had the right to do so. The law gives him that right, in the same way as the law in Britain now gives the Home Secretary, the same man, the right to penalise migrants who come to the UK by an illegal route. International law takes a different view. So legally, under British law, Cleverly is perfectly at liberty to treat those migrants as badly as he wants. Morally, which is drawing on an observation of a more global view of the law and more international view of the law, I don't think he has that right. Now, it may be convenient and it may fit a particular political narrative, and I'm sure in this particular case, Jacob Rees-Mogg and I would differ wildly, but I would hope that he would recognise it's the same principles that underpin my argument that underpin his, or at least that underpin his argument about Begum. And he then goes down to talk about other principles of our unwritten constitution, the right to trial by jury, which can be dated back to 1215, and Cecil Rhodes. He quotes Cecil Rhodes, who I must say may have said some good things, but he wasn't a particularly attractive Englishman. He said, "To be born an Englishman is to win first prize in the lottery of life." I remember Stephen Fry wrote a rather wonderful play that I was in, and the line was to be born an Englishman is to have drawn first prize in the lottery of life. To being baptized a Christian is to have drawn first prize in the lottery of life after death, which I think is rather splendid. And Palmerston says, so also a British subject in whatever land he may be shall feel confident that the watchful eye and strong arm of England will protect him against any injustice and wrong. But of course that doesn't work anymore. And Rees-Mogg points out that Jimmy Lai has been shamefully treated by the Chinese government, and the Home Office arbitrarily removes the citizenship of others. We should equally be mindful of the of those people who are being held in prison in Russia. Whose responsibility is this? And in the end, Karamurza is as much our citizen and our responsibility as he is in a Russian jail. And he shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be there at all. And he is in ill health. There are so many issues that Jacob Rees-Mogg raises here, and as I say, he is an entertaining presenter, and when he is focused, he is very astute. Of course, sometimes when he's having a conversation with one of his guests, he doesn't really let the guest talk. And certainly not if the guest doesn't share his conclusions, which I think are probably quite well thought through. I think equally he's rather given to showing off about language. But this article in the Spectator is worth its weight in gold. It's absolutely brilliant. Well done.